Hey guys, in this month's top 5, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite book couples from 2021. So I guess that intro is pretty self-explanatory. This top 5 is going to be dedicated to all of my favorite book couples that I read last year in the year of 2021. So yeah, let's get going, make this short and to the point, I guess. At number 5, Dominic and Minuet from the Boleyn King trilogy by Laura Anderson. And these two are so adorable and sweet and perfect together, you guys. I'm probably going to say that about everybody on this list, to be quite honest. What can I say? So yeah, what you need to know about the Boleyn King trilogy. This is alternative history, pretty much. Laura Anderson, the author, is asking what if the second wife of King Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn, what if she had given him a male heir? And how would that affect the future of the Tudor dynasty in England at that time period? So yeah, the king during this alternative history, his name is William, but he goes by Henry IX officially. And his two best friends are Dominic and Minuet. So, of course, this brings up a bit of a love triangle. You guys, it's a problem. If you read historical fiction often, especially if it relates to like monarchies and whatnot, whenever a king desires somebody, you best step out of the way and let the king have the lady of his choice. But yeah, Dominic and Minuet. They're not really for that. They see William, aka Henry IX, however you want to view him, they see him as simply a friend, and they start up a romance. It actually doesn't really start up in this first book, I don't think. I want to say Dominic has feelings for Minuet, and Minuet is kind of slowly getting there. But yeah, they really start to get into the bulk of their relationship, starting with book 2 in the trilogy. And of course, this causes a lot of inner turmoil within Dominic and Minuet, because hey, not only is William our friend, but he's also our king. Uh-oh, this is a bit of a problem. Are we betraying him? Are we committing treason? What the hell? What should they think and believe? So yeah, the love triangle is definitely a pretty interesting bit of this entire trilogy. It's not like the whole trilogy, there's definitely a lot more things going on in this trilogy. I don't want to make it sound like it's just a complete romance, but I love Dominic and Minuet. They definitely they treat each other like equals, I feel like, and I feel like they have a great partnership, and I feel like for the most part they're open and honest with one another, and they share in common interests and goals and whatnot. So yeah, when I'm looking at book couples, that's definitely a big thing I'm looking for. So yeah, Dominic and Minuet from the Boleyn King, I love them. At number 4, I have Lord John Grey and Percy Wainwright from Diana Gabaldon's Lord John Grey series, specifically from this second book in the series, Lord John and the Brotherhood of Blade. It sounds rather dramatic, doesn't it? Oh boy, I love Grey and Percy. Here's the thing, it's the 1700s, you guys. It's the 1700s in this book, and both Grey and Percy are military men. There's lots of issues and problems there, and yeah, they're gay, obviously. It's not good for them, you guys. It's not good. But you, the reader, you want them to get together. You believe in them, and it just sucks. It just sucks as you're reading this book, because you have all this historical knowledge. It's the 1700s in England. They're both military men. This is frowned upon. It's seen as perverse and wrong, So I absolutely love the relationship between Percy and Grey in this series. And another weird thing, I guess I gotta bring this up, another weird obstacle to their relationship is the fact that they're actually stepbrothers, you guys. But no, they are not related in any way by blood. Let me make that clear. They're definitely not related in any way by blood. Percy's father is about to marry Gray's mother and whatnot. But yeah, I really love the relationship between the two of them, and of course there's a lot of turmoil and angst and drama considering the time period and considering their profession and whatnot. And it's just so sad because they truly love each other, and you want them to be together, but it has to be hidden, you know, it has to be hidden. They have to be sneaky about their relationship and where they meet and how they meet and when they meet. It's like they have to be really calculated about everything. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing with their relationship, is how hidden and secretive it has to be, because it's like you want it to be out there and open and everything as the reader. But I love the two of them. Unfortunately, their relationship is only in this second book in the series. I won't say why, obviously. I'm not going to sit and spoil kind of the fallout that happens in this book. But yeah, I keep hoping that Diana Gabaldon will write some more books in this series, and maybe Percy will just pop back up somehow, you know, and maybe the relationship can resume. One can hope, right? At number 3, Angrboda and Loki from The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. Oh, this is such an interesting, fascinating couple, you guys, because they definitely do not have a perfect relationship by any means. I guess you can say that at times their relationship can be rather toxic and unhealthy, I suppose, but it's still the type of relationship that, despite all of the chaos and drama and issues that arise from the relationship between these two characters, it's still the type of relationship that it's like you are still kind of hoping that something can work. You're hoping that Angrboda can help Loki through his own dramas, and then you're hoping that Loki as well can kind of get over his own just egotistical manner and whatnot, and stop playing his word games and mind games and whatnot. Because other than kind of just some of their own individual issues as individuals and whatnot, it's like they work really well as a couple. It's just those times that it's like there's a secret here, there's a lie here, there's an unfortunate choice of words here, especially by the character of Loki. He'll say some things, it's like, dude, you do not say that to a woman. Even if you mean it in jest or in good humor, you just don't say things like that. But yeah, if you don't know what The Witch's Heart is about, this is a retelling of Norse mythology, focusing primarily on the witch Angrboda, who was one of the wives of the trickster god Loki. And together, Angrboda and Loki, they have 3 children. There is Hel, who essentially becomes like the goddess of the underworld in Norse mythology, if you want to think about it that way. And then there is Fenrir, the wolf, who plays a big, huge part in Ragnarok, which is the end of the world for Norse mythology. And then there's also Jormungandr, who is like he grows up to be like a big, huge, giant world snake. You know, he can wrap his whole entire body around the world and whatnot. And yeah, he too plays a big part in Ragnarok. And Hel does too, as well. So that's kind of the big thing of this whole story. It's the relationship between Angrboda and Loki, their children, their 3 children, and the fact that Angrboda, since she is a witch and she does have like prophecy and she can see into the future a little bit, she quickly realizes that her 3 children are very special, very important, very pivotal, and this whole novel is about her role as a mother and her desire to protect her children at any cost, even if that means, you know, letting go of Loki and defying the gods and whatnot. So I really love this book. It is such a beautiful, remarkable retelling of Norse mythology. I just immensely loved it and appreciated. And yeah, the core relationship with Loki and Angrboda, I think is definitely a must read. It's just really fascinating. Yeah, you're either going to love it or hate it, because like I said, there are definitely issues and problems with their relationship, but it's still so fascinating, and that's why I have it up so high on my list, because of just how into the relationship I got and how believable I found it and whatnot. At number 2, Kit and Tom from A Tip for the Hangman by Allison Epstein. Ooh, another couple. I just love you guys. Like I told you, I'm going to say this about every single damn couple on this list. The Kit of this book is Christopher Marlowe, you guys, from the Elizabethan era, the very popular, famous playwright of that era, kind of, you know, right there alongside his contemporary William Shakespeare and whatnot. So yeah, we have the real-life historical Christopher Marlowe, aka Kit, who is our main protagonist of this book. And then to my understanding, I believe Tom is a fictional character. I'm trying to remember, because Allison Epstein did have an author a knowledge of it at the end of this book, and I'm trying to remember if she mentioned he is a fictional character or if he's kind of based a little bit on truth of a real life character by that name. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Kit and Tom, you guys. Oh boy. Oh wow. These two are freaking great and so epic. There is a genuine love and chemistry there. They are both students together at college. They both have their boyishness, their playfulness, but their seriousness at the same time. They just really balance each other out quite perfectly. And what I also really like about their relationship is that Kit can often sometimes be a bit of a jerk and an ass and kind of say some things that perhaps he shouldn't. And he is very secretive about some things. I'll kind of tell you what the plot is in a minute. But yeah, Kit is very secretive, with reason. He has to be. And I love Tom thrown in there, because Tom, it's like, hey, you can't bullshit me. Don't try to feed me any of your bullshit and whatnot. So I love that Tom will just straight out call Kit out on his bullshit, you know, and all of his just angst and drama. So that's a part of their relationship that I really like, because even though Kit is trying to hide certain things, it's like Tom's like, no, I know you. I've known you for a while. I know your mannerisms. I know your different types of moods. So I love that type of relationship where that the partners can both kind of tell each other's moods, you know, what they're thinking and feeling, and it's like, hey, you're lying to me about something, I can tell. But yeah, if you don't know what A Tip for the Hangman is about, it is set during the Elizabethan era, and Kit Marlowe is approached by Francis Walsingham, who is essentially at that time kind of one of Queen Elizabeth I's spy masters. And Francis Walsingham approaches Kit Marlowe and is essentially like, hey, I've kind of been looking into you, and I think you have promised to be one of my spies. I want to recruit you as one of my spies. And hey, I need a spy to head up over to Mary, Queen of Scots, because at this time there is a huge rivalry between Mary, Queen of Scots, and her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I. And yeah, this whole back and forth drama, you know, between the Protestants and the Catholics and whatnot. So there's a lot of religious turmoil, and Queen Mary of Scots felt like she was the rightful queen, that Elizabeth was essentially the usurper to the throne. So Walsingham wants Christopher Marlowe to try and infiltrate the court of Queen Mary of Scots, and see if there's something she's hiding. You know, try to find some juicy information there to help save the Elizabethan era, essentially. So yeah, I love this book. That's why Kit is so secretive with his relationship with Tom and whatnot, because he's a spy. He has to hide certain things. He has to have half-truths and whatnot. So I love the dynamic and relationship between the two of them. It's essentially kind of the heart and core of this novel at times. Whenever the two of them finally get back together and talk and hash out feelings, you know, that's definitely some of the best chapters of this book, I think. And at number 1, John Jacob Astor and Madeline Astor from The Second Mrs. Astor by Shauna Abe. And this is a sort of Titanic historical fiction book. The role of the Titanic is actually, surprisingly enough, considering these two, the role of the Titanic is actually a fairly minimal part of this book. It's kind of just in the last chunk of the book. But yeah, if you don't know about the real life historical figures of John Jacob Astor and Madeline Astor, John Jacob Astor at this time was like one of the most wealthy men in America, and he had already gotten a divorce from his first wife, and Madeline comes into his life. She is very young, rather naive about kind of coming into this situation, and yeah, Madeline does marry John Jacob Astor. And they're not really married for too terribly long. It's not even a year, you guys. I don't even think it's a year. So here comes April of 1912. The two of them are on the Titanic. We know the Titanic hits an iceberg and sinks, obviously, and yet John Jacob Astor does die. His body is found like a week, I believe, after the sinking, and yeah, Madeline is a widow, though she does marry again at some point. But yeah, the novel pretty much stops there. It stops with the sinking of the Titanic and Madeline, her new station as a widow and what that means and whatnot, and kind of the legacy of John Jacob Astor. And yeah, she is actually pregnant on the Titanic at the time. So yeah, the big thing about this book, this whole book is essentially the big drama and scandal that this marriage between John Jacob Astor and Madeline causes in high society and whatnot, because it was kind of seen as almost like taboo and frowned upon. Madeline was seen as like a gold digger, and she was only after his money. She didn't really love him. But yeah, what I love about this book so much, I have just always really had an interest and a fascination with John Jacob Astor and Madeline Astor. I've always desperately craved a historical fiction book about them, so I'm just so happy Shauna Abe finally gave me that, because I've been wanting it for years, you guys. And I love the relationship between these two. I guess it's important to note that this book probably is most likely a very romanticized view of their romance and their relationship, which I kind of didn't really mind. I was here for it, because I don't think there's really too terribly much known about their relationship and whatnot, because I think a lot of what's known is just what was through the media at that time, you know, and yeah, Madeline was kind of vilified to some extent, but I love their relationship. They're just so sweet and adorable. Like I said, it is probably most likely highly romanticized. I do think they have a wonderful partnership with one another. Yes, Madeline walks into this relationship and into this marriage perhaps a little naively, but she grows. And yeah, once again, media is a huge part of this book. The newspaper people, the photographers just hounding the two of them, trying to get, you know, a photo here and an interview here, you know. And yeah, Shauna Abe even kind of compares their relationship to some degree to that of like Princess Diana and Prince Charles, you know, back in the 80s, you know. Except this was probably a lot more, way more scandalous, you know, during the time period. Princess Diana and Prince Charles didn't get scandalous until, you know, the 90s. So yeah, I really liked this book, and seeing these two people fleshed out and whatnot. But it made me go do like further research on them and whatnot. So yeah, if you love all things Titanic, and if you ever had an interest in John Jacob Astor and Madeline Astor, I definitely recommend checking this out, because this was so good, and I totally rooted for these two, even though I knew the Titanic was going to sink. You know, Shauna Abe did such a remarkable job at kind of making me feel like, oh, okay, maybe John Jacob Astor won't die. Maybe this would be alternative history and he won't die. Stupid me. So you guys, that is it for my top 5 favorite couples that I read back in 2021. In the comments below, what were some of your favorite book couples that you read last year? Just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.